Hello everyone, welcome to another quick exercise video. So from the last video, we modeled a sci-fi panel and I told you that in the next video, we're going to use Greeble Bake to bake this into a texture detail instead of using the geometry. So also from the last video, we used the extras join objects command or operator in random flow to join the separate meshes into one single object. And we're going to object data. You can see that when using this command, particularly join objects, um, the separate meshes from when they were separate objects before being, of course, joined into one are all saved as vertex groups. So you can still access them using this. You can use the data section of the properties window to access the vertex group list and just click on a vertex group and then click select, or you can go in edit mode, press 1 to go into vertex mode and click a vertex and then shift G, select similar and select vertex group. And because they are made this way, you can use the split mesh to split them back to their original versions as individual objects. So join objects and split mesh kind of works together in that regard. Okay, so let us use Gribble Bake to bake this into textures. So Gribble Bake, as, it's the same way in any other of the add-ons. You can find the online documentation in the product page and in the preferences of the add-on. And also there's a bunch of starter videos there as well to get you started. Okay, so for this, we're just going to make the normal, the AO, and the diffuse. We don't need the displacement, or we could try the displacement. And distance, brightness, contrast, I'm going to leave this alone. Size, offset, leave this alone as well. Depth location, just use origin point. Samples for AO, and AO is just for the AO sample. So higher samples means lower noise or less noise. So I'm just, for the sake of speed, I'm just going to use 32. And others means that the other maps in the bake type list. So normal, displacement, alpha, diffuse, emit. So they really don't need that much sample. You can even go as low as 1. And it doesn't really matter how much sample you use for them, they won't generate any noise. Okay, so margin, just 4. And here in bake origin, you have to select the bake from object. Okay, so the objects that the details are going to be baked from. So in this case, if you click on this, it will show you the selected objects that you have, and you can click on the one that you the bake origin object basically represents the origin point. You can know all this by reading the online documentation. Okay, so this is our object, the plane. And bake to object, we don't have, only if you're using a something, an object in the scene that you're going to use as the bake to object, where the details are going to be baked to. So for example, if I have a plane here, I'm going to select that and add it as the bake to object. But since we don't have, I'm not going to use any bake to object in the scene, the script is going to provide me with that using a simple primitive plane that's going to be added to the scene during the script operation and then removed. So you won't really see it added and removed because it's too quick. Okay, conform shape. So the bake to object that's going to be created by the script starts out as a simple plane shape, which is a square. If you click this, it will conform on the shape of the uh, bake from object. And conform to selection will conform the bake to object to the um, selected vertices, their average shape in terms of being like square or rectangle. Scale to bounds basically warps the resulting bake to the dimension of the UV map, which is the square dimension. Bake to last images, I just usually toggle this on. So whenever I'm dealing um, on an object, I want if I want to repeat the baking process over and over again, it won't create any new maps. It will just create on the last images that were baked. And you can set um, the name of the bake using this in the image, or you can leave it alone, and the script will provide a prefix and suffix for the bake images. Okay, so the bake images we have right now that we're going to bake is normal, AO, displacement, and diffuse. We're just going to try and test using normal, and if everything's good, then we can try the other maps. So yeah, that's a good advice. If you're just if you're just experimenting with the setting, just try normal first. Okay, normal and bake. Okay, so you can see that there's noise in the normal, and that's not supposed to happen because this is you only see this in ambient occlusion or AO. Okay, so what is happening is that those noise is actually the bump detail from the procedural texture. So instead of let me see, I think it's in scratches. Let's try and set the scratch to 0 strength for the bump, and then bake again. And this is only because I'm using the grad shader. Okay, the noise is still there. I think it's also, I think we are going to just turn off all of the bump detail and just use the bevel, or leave the bevel alone and set the other bump detail off by turning them to 0. And now let's bake the texture again. Bake. There you go. No more nice. And we have the normal. And as for the cloth, let's just leave this alone. I think there's no actual bump noise. A bump detail there that's generating the noise. This is all the Voronoi detail and the scratch detail from the last video. Okay, so that's our normal. And now let's try AO displacement and the diffuse. Bake. Okay. So this is displacement or the height, and this is our diffuse, and this is AO. Not too bad for such a low sample, and of course our normal. Now we're going to create a plane object that is the same dimension as this one. Okay, and how do we do that? Simply pick the farthest vertex or edge on this object, on our original object, then cursor selected, and pick our primitive plane and select this edge here. set the pivot point to the cursor and press 0. Press it selected and scale, press 0. Okay. And also another thing with when using Gribble Bake and baking, set the pivot point to median point. I find that using 3D cursor is uh, generating an error when using the conform shape toggle. So remember to use median point when baking with conform shape on. Okay, so as for shader, new shader for this one, Control T for the mapping, and that hotkey is only available when you have Node Wrangler, so make sure to turn it on. So this is the diffuse. Okay, duplicate this and use the same mapping. Um, Color mix node. Set this to A and the AO to the B input, and let's use AO here. And this one is going to be the bump or the no, I'm sorry, the normal vector, and then choose normal map and use the bake normal. Make sure that the color space is non-color for the normal, and also for the displacement also non-color. So we're not going to use the displacement yet. Let's just try and see this as uh, with the three maps. Okay, so uh, we have a problem with the UV, unwrap, angle based. We're going to just manually fix this. Let's go to UV editor and put this to 90, rotate it to 90 degrees, and I think we can set it to 90 exactly, I think. Nope. Okay. Minimum spread. Just gonna eyeball this. Okay. So this is our the version of our, we don't have the emit and the, I think we can try and bake the emit as well. Let's see. Emit. Let's go to image editor and bake. There we go. There's the emit. And here in the, it only bakes the emission shaders from the being used by the mesh. Okay, UV editor and this one. Okay, not UV editor, shader, and create duplicate the image texture node again and bake emit and set this to the color and the strength. There we go. Okay, to change the color of this, you can try color ramp or color mix node. Uh, color mix node and use blending mode color. Is it too much? Yeah, it's too much. The intensity. If you use too much emission intensity, the color essentially goes away, and you get like this white uh, emission. That's our emission, and this is basically the lighter version of this one here. And all you need to do is, I think we can use displacement data for the roughness uh, and metallicity. So bake displacement metallic and then invert that for the roughness. So this is not necessarily industry standard. So, but it does provide some result on that invert node, invert color node. And then control the factor using the color ramp right here. I'm gonna remove this node here. Is that the displacement? Is oh, we removed the other detail, the bump detail, so it would not really work as much. Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, let's just try this one. There we go. We have a bit of roughness going on. I don't know where you can. I think you can use the diffuse if you bake a higher resolution. So I use 1024. So if you bake something like 2048, you can use the diffuse to actually generate the specular map or the roughness map or something like that. So that's one way to do it. Okay, so yeah, this is the lighter version of the geometry-based sci-fi panel that we made in quick exercise number. What number is that? So it's the last video, and this is the baked version, and this is of course lighter, and you can array this hundred thousands of times, and it's Blender could still handle it. There you go. So all the details are there. So what will this look like if we don't have the normal? So it really looks flat. So we have the normal. Now this let's try the displacement. We're going to go to material, and in settings, um, displacement, set this to displacement only. Okay. We're going to set the bake displacement here, and use the go to vector and use the displacement node here, and set this to this automatically sets it to the normal input. Set this to high, I think. So this needs subdivision to work. So let's just set this to 0.1 at first. We're going to give the subdivision it needs we're using the subdivision modifier. I think it's in generate. Yes. And to avoid deforming the mesh using the cut Clark subdivision method, let's just use simple and then increase the toggle of optimal display. So you can see the wireframe when you add the topology or the resolution when you switch to wireframe and rendered. So when you switch to wireframe and increase the level of the viewport, you can see the resolution changing. And we're essentially giving the displacement map, the texture, the amount of resolution that it wants to actually uh, displace the detail. So let's see, point 4, looks like displacing. Maybe it's in scale. No, height. There we go. So mid-level 0 and just increase the scale. You want more fidelity on the detail, you need to increase the level of subdivision. But be careful, of course, too much is always a bad thing. Something like 8. There we go, we have displacement. Scale is zero point 0.8. Just remember that the sides doesn't have any texture information. So it's actually rendering black. Let's just use zero point 0.4. So the trick here is that, again, if you're rendering far away, just disable displacement. But if you're rendering close, if the for example, this panel is close to the it's close to your render image, is in a closer distance, you can use the displacement and get some extrusions there just to make it less flat because it's closer to the camera. You want more detail, so you can do that. So the closer it is to the camera, you can use the displacement. The far away it is, you can just ignore the displacement completely and just use the normal map. Okay, so that is using Greeble Bake add-on to quickly turn the object we created with random flow into a texture map, texture image texture detail. Okay, so there's a question. I received a question by email that said I already have a bunch of baking add-ons. Why do I need Gribble Bake? If you read the online documentation and um, that will let you decide whether Gribble Bake is still something that you're going to need, despite you having those other baking add-ons, because the Gribble Bake add-on is essentially made to let you quickly bake something from a flame and is mostly uh, geared towards the add-on is mostly geared towards working well with random flow. But of course, you can just experiment a bunch of stuff using just a simple plane, creating patterns here, then using Gribble Bake to bake it quickly. And for example, if you want to create a bunch of normal decals, let's see, create a flow. I'm just gonna add a screw, final screw, and add it custom, copy it and add it to the vert, and then increase the radius. Okay, Let's see. Do not bake the last images. And let's just bake the normal. I toggled off do not bake the last images so it wouldn't bake, overlap the bake here. Okay, so bake origin point distance. Bake. Oh, we need to select the bake origin from the selection. So plane 2, which is the plane here. There we go. So that's just one of the uses with a add-on. Watch the starter videos there to let you decide whether you need the add-on or not. Okay, so yeah, again, it's quite easy. Once you get used to it, you can just make a bunch of stuff with random flow, then bake it using Greeble Bake, and you have this, the lighter version. You don't even have to go to the process of joining these objects. You just have to select them all and then bake them. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions, use the comments section or the links in the description. Subscribe and hit notify. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.